Now, let's go to John chapter 10. Bearing everything we've said in mind, let's go to John 10. In verse 1, Jesus says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the gatekeeper opens. The sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out." Well, I'm going to talk about that. "When he has brought out all his own, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. A stranger they will not follow, but they will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers." This figure of speech Jesus used with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So Jesus again, now he's going to repeat what he has said, but in a different way. Jesus again said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He who is a hired hand and not a shepherd, who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he is a hired hand, and he cares nothing for the sheep. He does not love the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. And I have other sheep that are not of this fold. I must bring them also. That's you and me. And they will listen to my voice, so there will be one flock and one shepherd." All right, let's get into some teaching here. So here Jesus says, first he introduces first of all by saying that truly I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber. Note, that man is a thief and a robber. We are going to find out who this man is, who is a thief and a robber. He says he does not enter the sheepfold, the house of the sheep, by the door, but he says that he climbs in by another way. Verse 2, "But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep." Okay? "To him the gatekeeper opens, the sheep hear his voice." And they hear his voice, they recognize his voice. Of course, the sheep can hear many other voices, but when they hear his, they recognize his voice. The sheep hear his voice. And he calls his own sheep by name. These are 100 sheep, let's say, and he knows each one of them by name. Why does he know all of them? Because he loves them, because they are dear to him. They are not just dumb animals to him. But I'm going to explain that some more later in this teaching, in this particular lesson. He calls them by name and he leads them out. And then it says, when he has brought out all his own, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. So here he gives us kind of like, he's illustrating the day of a good shepherd. And how does the day start? He says anybody who enters the sheepfold does not enter by the door, but climbs in by another way. That man is a thief and a robber. So, but he who enters by the... Okay, so let's go. Let me jump. I have so much to say here, so it's disturbing me a little bit to order. So he comes here in verse 6. It says, "This figure of speech Jesus used with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them." So Jesus again said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep." So here is Jesus now saying the same thing he has said already. The first time they didn't understand him, so he's saying it again, but in a different way so that they can understand it. He says that, he begins by saying this, "Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep." What does Jesus mean when he says that is the door of the sheep? So let's go through this shepherding process. So here's a shepherd is the most important thing to a sheep. Sheep are hopeless animals. Sheep are dumb animals. Sheep are helpless animals. Sheep are probably the stupidest animals you could ever encounter. They are totally dependent. You've never met an independent sheep. They are dependent on the shepherd. They derive everything they are, everything they have, everything they do from the shepherd, from hearing his voice, from following him, because they don't even have very good eyesight. So the sheep have to depend on the shepherd and on his voice. You see, they are very dependent animals. So the shepherd is the everything of his sheep. The shepherd is the most important thing to those sheep. He's their everything. He is their life. He is their father. He is their mother. The shepherd, without the shepherd, the sheep will starve. They will die of hunger. They will die of thirst without a shepherd. He is so important to them. So here is a shepherd's day. The shepherd, first of all, has to build a sheepfold for his sheep. He builds this sheepfold, right, where the sheep stay. And then he will get some sheep. They will be born in his house. He will acquire some. And then in the morning, the shepherd will take his sheep. And he will call them by name out of the sheepfold. And the sheep will follow him out of the sheepfold. And there's a reason that's important, because sometimes, because shepherds are usually staying in the wilderness with their sheep, because that's where there's good pasture and good water, still water. Because of that, what will happen a lot of the time is, for shepherds, for their own safety, they will build a communal sheepfold, so that multiple shepherds can all be in that one place, because the safety in numbers, of course, common sense. So what will happen is that you'll find in a sheepfold there are 500 shepherds belonging to 500 sheep belonging to 5 different shepherds, all of them in one sheepfold. So in the morning, every shepherd will get up and he will have to call out his sheep to separate them and take them to his particular pasture that he wants to take them to. So that shepherd will either call his sheep by name, or he will make a sound. And those sheep, his sheep know his sound, his voice. They know his sound. And so once they hear the sound, his sheep will come out of the lot. But that's not the only thing. The other thing that will happen is, sometimes the shepherd will not make a sound. He will actually call them by name and start walking off. And as he calls, each of those sheep that he calls by name will come out. You just picture that. A guy calling names of sheep, and the sheep are coming out of 500 sheep. You're having this little sheep in the corner squeezing its way out of them and coming out, walking out to follow the shepherd. And once they have all come out, then he will walk off and they will each follow him to wherever he's taking them. And then, because they know his voice. Now the others that have remained will not follow him, because he's not their shepherd. They know their shepherd's voice. They will not follow this one because he's not their shepherd. They will also wait for their shepherd to call them with his sound or by name, and they will follow him. Glory be to God. Now that's so telling for what we're going to share later. So, but then as he leads them, he takes them to pasture, and the sheep will follow him to pasture, and he will stop them there and they will eat. And then he will lead them to still water, and they will follow him to still water and drink, because they don't drink moving water, they drink calm still water. And then after they have drunk the water, he will lead them to rest, and they will lay down in a nice beautiful plain and rest in the shade. And then after they have rested, he will lead them back. Later in the evening, he will lead them back to the sheepfold. He will drive them into the sheepfold. They'll get inside the sheepfold. And then guess what the shepherd will do? He will lie at the entrance of that sheepfold. He will become the door. That's why Jesus says, he begins by saying, I am the door. Because after the shepherd has put his sheep inside, he will lie at the entrance of the sheepfold and become the door of that sheepfold. And so, which will mean that nothing can enter into that sheepfold without going through him. And nothing can get out of that sheepfold without going through him. Whether it is an animal or another person or a snake or a scorpion, it will have to go through the shepherd, because he is the door. And if any of those sheep wants to get out, it will have to go through the shepherd, because he is the door. So Bearing that in mind, then now go back to verse 1 and remember what Jesus said. He who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, by me, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber. So question is, who is this who did not enter the sheepfold by the door? If the door is Christ, who is this person who does not approach God's people through Christ? Because we are the sheep in the sheepfold, he is the door. So whoever is coming past him is coming to us, approaching God's people. Who is this person? Who are these people who approached God's people minus Christ? Who represented God's people minus Christ? Who spoke for God minus Christ? Who are these people? It is the religious leaders. It is religion. It is the religious people